You feel the heat rising in your chest. The air in the room suddenly feels heavy, almost suffocating. You're standing in front of someone whose opinion should not matter, yet you find yourself talking faster, raising your pitch, scrambling to justify a decision that was yours alone to make. You watch their eyes glaze over, or worse, glint with a quiet, predatory satisfaction. You have just handed them the keys to your psychological castle. You have pleaded for their understanding, and in doing so, you have implicitly asked for their permission. Now, you're driving home in silence, the steering wheel tight in your grip, replaying the conversation on an endless, torturous loop. You are angry, not at them, but at yourself. You are nursing the familiar, bitter realization that you have once again compromised your sovereignty for the illusion of peace. But here is the pattern interrupt. Your urge to explain yourself is not a sign of politeness. It is a psychological surrender. It is a submissive reflex masquerading as communication. The moment you offer an explanation to someone who has not earned it, you submit to their judgment, declaring them the judge and yourself the accused. Why do you carry this exhausting compulsion? The uncomfortable truth is that you are battling millions of years of evolutionary programming. In the ancient ancestral environment, exile from the tribe meant physical death. Your brain still associates social disapproval with mortal peril. The amygdala fires, cortisol floods your bloodstream, and your instinct screams at you to harmonize, to explain, to appease the collective. Modern manipulators, rivals, and psychological parasites understand this biological vulnerability. They exploit your natural desire for harmony to pull you down the social hierarchy. Friedrich Nietzsche identified this exact dynamic in his analysis of slave morality. He observed that the weak, unable to generate their own power, seek to drag the strong down to their level by imposing guilt and demanding justifications. When you explain your actions, you participate in your own domestication. You allow the herd to dictate the boundaries of your mind. Carl Jung spoke extensively of the persona, the mask we wear to satisfy society. But Jung warned that when you become too desperate to make your mask acceptable to others, you strangle your shadow, the seat of your raw, creative power and survival instincts. You do not owe the world a beautifully packaged justification for your existence. The sovereign individual does not seek consensus. They command their own reality. To reclaim your power, you must identify the specific archetypes who thrive on your explanations and learn the art of strategic silence. To protect your psychological sovereignty, you must recognize that not all minds operate with good intentions. There are 5 specific profiles of people to whom an explanation is not just useless. It is a tactical error. 1. The narrative architect. The narrative architect does not listen to understand. They listen to gather raw material. They are the social engineers of your circle, constantly scanning your words for vulnerabilities to reshape reality to fit their predetermined script. In terms of cognitive psychology, this archetype operates entirely within confirmation bias and narrative dominance. They have already decided who you are, what your motives are, and how you fit into their social hierarchy. When you explain yourself to them, you're handing them the raw data they need to construct a weapon against you. Imagine this scenario. You decline a social invitation because you need to focus on a high-stakes professional project. When they ask why, you offer a detailed explanation of your schedule, your stress levels, and your ambitions. What is really happening here? The narrative architect takes your explanation, strips away the context, and reframes your boundary as selfishness or disloyalty to the rest of the group. Tomorrow, when this person demands to know why you made a certain choice, run this experiment. Offer a flat, neutral statement. I made the decision that was best for me. When they push for details, meet them with absolute silence and a steady gaze. The dark truth is that people do not want your truth. They want ammunition to confirm their own superiority. By denying them an explanation, you starve their narrative of oxygen, leaving them powerless to control how others perceive you. 2. The Moral Inquisitor. The Moral Inquisitor is the self-appointed guardian of virtue. They use the language of ethics, fairness, and collective well-being as a smokescreen to mask their deep-seated desire for control. This type utilizes a manipulative tactic known as moral high grounding. By framing every interaction as a test of your character, they force you into a defensive posture. If they can make you feel morally deficient, you will naturally seek to redeem yourself by explaining your purity of intent. You see this when you make a calculated, self-serving decision, such as leaving a stagnating job or ending a one-sided relationship. The Moral Inquisitor will ask, "How could you do that after everything they did for you?" If you respond by explaining your sacrifices and your reasoning, you have walked directly into their trap. You are now a defendant in a trial where they are both prosecutor and judge. The next time the Moral Inquisitor questions your character, apply the law of detachment. Do not defend your morality. Instead, acknowledge their statement without agreeing to their premise. Say, "I accept that you see it that way." The dark truth is that the loudest moralizers are often compensating for their own internal decay. They do not care about virtue. They care about submission. When you refuse to plead your case in their psychological courtroom, you strip them of their judicial robes. 3. The emotional parasite. The emotional parasite feeds on energy, drama, and psychic friction. They are chronically dissatisfied, perpetually victimized, and highly attuned to the emotional states of those around them. Psychologists refer to this behavior as narcissistic supply extraction. The parasite does not want solutions, clarity, or logical explanations. They want the raw, emotional energy you expend while trying to make them understand. Your frustration, your pleading, and your desperation are their psychological nutrients. Consider the classic pattern. The parasite accuses you of being distant or uncaring. You spend 2 hours on the phone explaining your love, your busy lifestyle, and your struggles. Notice how, at the end of the call, you feel utterly depleted, while they seem revitalized, ready to repeat the exact same argument next week. Your explanation did not resolve the issue, because the issue was merely a pretext to harvest your energy. The practical application here is simple but brutal. Cut the feed. When they launch an accusation designed to trigger an explanatory defense, reply with a single, calm word, "Understood." Then, redirect your attention elsewhere. The dark truth is that your empathy is being weaponized against you. The emotional parasite wants you trapped in an endless loop of justification because as long as you are explaining, you are focused on them, and your energy is theirs to consume. 4. The status enforcer. The status enforcer is obsessed with social dominance and the preservation of informal hierarchies. They are highly threatened by any sign of your independence, ambition, or self-reliance. In social psychology, this behavior is a manifestation of crab mentality, the instinctual drive to pull down any member of the group who attempts to climb higher. The status enforcer uses passive-aggressive questioning to make you feel insecure about your progress, hoping you will explain yourself down to a non-threatening level. This occurs when you start a new business, change your physical appearance, or adopt a disciplined routine. They will ask sneering questions like, "Why are you wasting your time on that?" Or, "Do you really think you're ready for that?" If you explain your plans and goals, you're seeking their validation, which signals to them that you still recognize their authority over you. You're validating their right to police your growth. Starting tomorrow, treat every skeptical question from a status enforcer as an irrelevant data point. Do not share your vision. Do not explain your strategy. Simply smile and say, "We will see." The dark truth is that your self-improvement exposes their stagnation. They demand explanations because they want to find the flaws in your plan to convince themselves that you will fail. Keep your moves in the dark until the results speak for themselves. 5. The cognitive void. The cognitive void represents a category of people who simply lack the cognitive complexity, life experience, or emotional intelligence to comprehend your path. This is not necessarily an act of malice. It is a limitation of hardware. Cognitive psychology highlights the Dunning-Kruger effect and projection. People cannot understand a map of a territory they have never visited. If you're pursuing a highly unconventional path, a deep philosophical lifestyle, or an elite level of discipline, the average person literally does not possess the mental models required to grasp your actions. When you explain your deep-seated motivations, your existential philosophy, or your complex strategic decisions to someone who operates purely on basic societal programming, you're speaking a foreign language to a stone wall. They will misinterpret your depth as arrogance and your complexity as confusion. The next time you find yourself about to explain a complex life choice to a cognitive void, stop. Apply the rule of strategic ambiguity. Give them a simple, conventional explanation that fits their limited mental model, even if it is not the real reason. Say, "I'm doing it for the tax benefits," or "It is just a temporary experiment." The dark truth is that true intellectual and spiritual depth is an elite trait. Expecting the crowd to understand your private philosophy is a form of self-sabotage. Keep your highest thoughts for those who possess the capacity to hear them. Once you implement these boundaries, a profound psychological shift will occur. At first, the silence will feel incredibly uncomfortable. The urge to fill the void, to defend your honor, and to correct their misconceptions will scream inside your head. You will feel a strong impulse to send that explanatory text message at 2 a.m. Do not yield. This discomfort is the feeling of your old, compliant self dying. As you hold your ground, you will notice a fascinating reaction from those around you. The manipulators will grow angry. The parasites will become frantic. The status enforcers will try harder to provoke you. This is the ultimate proof that your strategy is working. Your silence is a mirror that reflects their own insignificance back at them. By refusing to explain yourself, you establish an aura of mystery and absolute self-possession. You become highly unpredictable. People will realize that they have no leverage over your emotions. You are no longer playing their game. You have stepped off the board entirely. You will move through the world with the quiet, terrifying power of someone who answers only to their own internal code. Make no mistake, most people who watch this video will do absolutely nothing with this information. They will click away, return to their social circles, and immediately start explaining themselves to the very first person who questions them. They are addicted to the comfort of submission. They prefer the warm, slow death of mediocrity to the cold, sharp air of self-sovereignty. But if you are still here, listening to these words, you are different. You possess the raw intellect to recognize these patterns, and more importantly, the potential power to break them. The path of the sovereign individual is lonely, and the crowd will always resent your detachment. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden laws of human nature and master the strategies that are too potent for the public eye, join us. The YouTube algorithm actively suppresses the most powerful, raw information we produce. Those deeper stratagems exist behind our private wall. Click the join button below to unlock exclusive and censor videos and align yourself with the rare few who choose power over comfort. Will you remain a defendant in the court of public opinion, or will you step up and become the absolute ruler of your own life?